Before we get started, I have one question. Are you willing to use an inferior mob for your personal gain, exploit them for all their resources while keeping them locked up in your basement?
But wait, Soda Tree. Doesn't that kinda sound like slave?
Shh. I need emeralds. Villagers are possibly one of the most underrated mobs in Minecraft. How do they work? What do they do? And what makes them the best mob? Most of this information comes from personal experience and hours upon hours of testing. This video took an insane amount of time to make, so if there is any useful information to you, a like would be much appreciated. Next week I'll be uploading a video with some more technical tips and the most efficient trades, so if you don't want to miss out on that, leaving a sub would be very beneficial. Before starting out, this information is accurate for every version of Minecraft, after and including Minecraft 1.14, the Village and Pillage update. Furthermore, I would advise you to play on hard difficulty, and if you are playing on a server, it be on any other version than paper. Both of these options break villager curing mechanics to a certain degree. What either do will be explained later. This is what I'll be covering in this video. There are also corresponding timestamps. First, some preparation you'll need to make, then how you actually acquire villagers, villager breeding mechanics and some special tips, how zombie villagers work and zombie villager curing, then the most important part, villager trading explained, the iron golem problem and raids, some cool designs I came up with and spawnproofing, and lastly gossiping mechanics. Which items do you even need to get the villagers to your place of residence? Usually boats or minecarts and rails will do, but if the village is far away from where you live, another portal and nether travel is advised. This is since 1 block of the nether counts as 8 blocks in the overworld. To start breeding your villagers, you will need a few stacks of bread, carrots, potatoes, or beetroot. Either of these works, but bread is the most efficient. Next, for the villager curing, you will need golden apples and splash potions of weakness. Also, having a decently large underground space dug out for the villagers is advised, as you can see in the background footage. For the breeding part, a large quantity of beds is also needed since each villager needs a separate bed. Lastly, having a non-despawnable zombie sitting around in minecart somewhere is definitely needed. Ways you can make zombies stop from despawning is giving them a name tag, or making them hold an item. Only a certain amount of zombies can hold an item and some just aren't capable. And now you may be thinking, ooh, Sodu, how do I acquire villagers? Where do I get them from? How do I get them if I have no villages nearby me? That is a phenomenal question. There are two ways to get villagers if you have no villages nearby. One of them is the aforementioned minecart into the nether and out of the nether back to your base method. The other is a bit more time consuming. Every zombie that spawns has a 5% chance to spawn as a zombie villager. You can go and cure these villagers with a golden apple and a splash potion of weakness, and if you get 2 of these villagers, you can just continuously breed them until you have an indefinite amount. Something else that you might want to watch out for are nitwits. Nitwits are specific villagers that spawn in villages, and they are incapable of getting a job. Avoid those. After you have acquired your villagers, you can just lock them into your basement, just as I do in the background footage. And now it's finally time to get into the saucy part. To breed villagers, there are a few requirements that have to be met, but they are quite easy. For 2 villagers to breed, you need one of these: 6 bread, 24 carrots, 24 potatoes, or 24 beetroot. But throwing them more than that is a lot more efficient since they will breed again once their 5-minute cooldown is over. Furthermore, there needs to be 1 bed for every adult villager as well as every potential baby. This means if you're breeding 2 villagers, you'll need 3 beds. If you're breeding 4 villagers, you'll need 6 beds, and so on. Once 2 villagers are breeding, love hearts will appear above their head. It usually doesn't happen instantly, but if it takes too long, just throwing them more food is usually the safest option. Something else that is commonly overlooked and I've never heard anyone talk about before is the fact that the room the villagers are being bred in has to be 3 blocks high, otherwise the babies cannot jump on the beds, making the villagers unable to breed. Once villagers have made the babies, they take 20 minutes to mature. What I usually do is have a large room with all the villagers in them, where I just throw them food every once in a while. There are also fully automatic villager farms you can build, and I'll link some tutorials in the description. I usually don't do that because it's too much effort and throwing them bread works just as well. Something super ultra mega important you have to watch out for is completely lighting up the villager breeding room, because if a singular zombie spawns in there, you can just start over. Lastly, you'll want to close off the breeding room with a fence, and just put carpet on top of it to jump over easily. You remember when I said earlier that you have to play on hard difficulty for this to work perfectly? Now this is exactly why. Because every time you cure a villager, you convert them to a zombie, and when converting a villager into a zombie, it's done by having the zombie kill a villager. Works best by having them sit in a minecart next to each other. The problem with this is, the chance your villager will be converted into a zombie villager not die is determined by your difficulty. On easy difficulty, there is a 0% chance for you to get a zombified villager, as opposed to normal difficulty where there are 50%, and on hard you will get a zombified villager 100% of the time. To get started with converting a villager into a zombie villager, you have to have him sit in a minecart next to your zombie, and walk out of the zombie's line of sight so he will start hitting the villager. Once the villager is killed by the zombie, he will turn into a zombified villager. The reason you want to leave the zombie's line of sight is because he will always target you over a villager. Thus, if you want to save a villager from being converted by a zombie, just stand in the zombie's line of sight and he will always focus you instead of the villager. Now, to cure a zombie villager, he must have the weakness effect, which can be provided by a splash potion or an arrow. Either works, but a splash potion is usually easier to obtain. Once the zombie villager is affected by weakness, right-click him with the golden apple and he will start shaking rapidly. And that means he's curing. This takes about 3 minutes plus minus a bit, so you don't want your zombies exactly next to each other, otherwise they will start converting each other back after they've already been cured. If your zombie villagers are sitting in minecarts 1 block away from each other, you can cure 4 at a time with 1 splash potion of weakness. And now you might be asking, ooh yes, but all this effort for what? Once a zombie villager has been cured, he will drastically decrease his prices for the player that cured him. The more often a villager has been converted into a zombie and cured again, the better his prices will become. But usually curing a villager more than twice is unnecessary. Honestly, the only villagers I would recommend curing twice are librarians, armorers, toolsmiths, and cartographers. Now, you might be asking yourself, what makes curing better than Hero of the Village? And quite simply, the answer to that is everything. The effect of curing lasts indefinitely, so the prices only go up if you buy too much. And even curing a villager once provides better prices than getting Hero of the Village. To get into the villager trading business, you need some emeralds to start out. Some easy villagers to start out with are fletchers with their stick trade, cartographers with their paper trade, and farmers. The fletchers don't really need to be cured, just abuse their stick trade. I would recommend curing a farmer once to make use of his apple trade so he can get easy golden apples. Also, his bread trade helps with continuing to breed. Cartographers should be cured twice since their glass and paper trades make the most emeralds. Once you've started curing villagers in large quantities, one of the best ways to make a lot of emeralds is abusing librarians combined with cartographers. You can buy glass blocks off librarians, convert them to glass panes, and sell those back to cartographers for easy profit. Mathematically, these trades are one of the best to make emeralds. Doing this over and over also makes you a metric ton of XP. If you have cured your cartographers once, you can make profit with this, but to sell 1 glass pane for 1 emerald, you have to cure them twice. The reason I said you do not want your server on paper is because it removes 2 times curing from villagers, thus getting you worse prices. There are also a few other ways to make emeralds. These methods will be outlined in my next video. If you don't want to miss out on that, please subscribe. Other villagers I would also recommend having for their incredible trades are armorsmiths, toolsmiths, weaponsmiths, and masons. This is a list of all current villager trades, which workstations they need, how much XP they give, and how often they can be done. This will be linked in the description and I highly recommend you take a look at it. If you're looking for a very specific book trade from Librarian, the best way to get it is to pick up and replace his workstation before you've ever traded with him to reset his first book trade. This also works for other villager professions but is most useful for librarians. To lock the librarian into his current trade so he can never change it, you just have to trade with him once. Then you can also remove the workstation without having to worry about losing the good trade. Once you've done a specific trade a certain amount of times, it will lock, but it refreshes twice a day. So, you might have realized I've been placing carpet absolutely everywhere. Why the heck would I be doing that? The problem with having a ton of villagers in a small room, them seeing a zombie every once in a while and being bred is that it counts as a village, thus they spawn iron golems. The problem with iron golems is, if they spawn next to your converting villagers, they will make it, well, dead. The way you can stop iron golems from spawning is layering the floor with carpet, rails, or glass. Either of them works because they are non-spawnable blocks. Slabs also work, but they're a bit difficult to work with. Something else you can do when everything else is spawn-proofed is make a very improvised iron golem farm. I'll be showing that design off in the next segment. Something else that you might want to look out for is that iron golems can definitely spawn in nearby caves, so you might want to spawn-proof those too. But don't worry, their spawn radius really isn't that large. Another thing you want to watch out for is to never go near your village with bad omen. It usually just kills everyone. You know, that's cool and fun and fine. And now for our newest segment in this show, exterior design with Sodu. That's me. I am the guy. I'm here now. And what I'll be showing you is basically just the design I built on the survival world, which was 100% totally survival, you know? And basically what I did to make it work. And I've been testing this for quite a while. I've been trying out some shit, trying out how to make villagers convertible the most easiest way possible. English, yes, thank you. And what I found is this design here to be absolutely incredible. Also, this over here, kind of showed you that already, but I'm going to show you more in depth now. And basically what you do over here is you just have like your little row, you have your couple of beds, you have like one empty space, doesn't matter if you have an empty space or not, have a rail here. Just have it long so you can put villagers in minecarts more easily. And this is the Iron Golem farm. I'll show you this more in depth later. And basically what you do is just you place your minecart. Ooh, he is now inside. And the cool thing is, bam! You saw that? What happens here basically is that the curved rail, it only works if this rail here is curved. If it's straight, it doesn't. The curved rail here pushes the minecart through these blocks where baby villager cannot escape through. An adult villager also cannot escape, so they just cannot get out. But they still can get pushed through here. And now this is already kind of spoiled what I was going for next. That's slightly unfortunate. But basically you can see it just pushes you through. And also do it with myself. And whichever speed you are always pushes the villager back up and always works. Let's just, well, I guess do this real quick for demonstration purposes. And now it no longer lets me through. Just doesn't work. So, like I said, rail has to be curved, have a slab on the top of this block and on the top of this block, and you can get pushed through without the villagers being able to get out. Next up, let me just get rid of this guy for now. So basically what happens here is you just push it over here. Any distance doesn't matter as long as the zombie cannot aggro onto these villagers over here, because then he's not convert these. And basically what powered rails do is kind of cool. They just stop minecarts in their tracks, quite literally. They make them so they cannot move anymore, and basically what that does on this slope is the villager can be pushed over, and then he stops next to the zombie. He will be converted into a zombie villager. And once we hit this button, it powers this rail in here, so he's shot over here. The thing is, currently it's going to shoot him into this guy, which doesn't really help us, so we switch this lever, and it's going to put him in the next slot. I'll just show this real quick. Bam. And bam. And like I showed you in the video, you can splash full with one splash potion of weakness at a time. Cure them, and now we wait. So 1 out of 4 is in fact done. Let's see how long the other ones take. Here you can also see the bit of a discrepancy in how long they take for some reason. And there goes number 2. And number 3. And there we go. That's beautiful. And what we can do now is either just like do this, send this guy back, convert him again. There we go. Bam. But now you can just take these guys wherever you want them to be. I'll just here take them away. And by away I mean goodbye. He is dead. And now for this guy, you can, well, do the whole shebang again. So just bam, and then you have a 2 times cured one. Or you could just, well, and now lastly for the Iron Golem farm I was talking about earlier, which I had just a bit of a montage of me building. And basically what you do is, if everything around here is spawn-proofed, the Iron Golems that usually spawn when you breed villagers won't spawn here because these aren't bred, they're just spawned in. But usually Iron Golems spawn when you breed villagers, or they see zombies and get terrified of them. They don't spawn anywhere here because all of this should usually be spawn-proofed. They spawn in here. And what that means is they will just float down here. But like a casual Iron Golem would usually when he floats. Yeah, you know. Shimmy on over down to the lava. He falls in the lava because he's 3 blocks tall. He starts dying. Lastly, just a quick rundown on gossiping mechanics. Basically what that means is if you hit a villager, he will hate you. If you hit a villager, all the villagers around him will hate you. If a villager sees you hit a villager and gets to talk with the villagers around him, all of them will give you worse prices. So just don't hit villagers, basically. There are also positive gossiping mechanics, but they're not really worth it because they don't give as much profit as just converting the villagers over and over. If you do want to get rid of a villager because he has absolutely atrocious trades, the best way to do is probably lava, because then you don't actually hit the villager and the other villagers won't hate you. They will just actively watch you murder their brother with steaming lava and think nothing of it, because that's totally acceptable socially.